Tennessee Titans fans, an article has come out today from Dan Graziano, a report about different things going on in the NFL. And there's a lot in there about the Tennessee Titans, a lot in there about Brian Callahan, and a lot about Brian Callahan's future with the Tennessee Titans, which has been a major topic of discussion among Titans fans, not just this week, but for the last month especially. So let's talk about this. Let's first of all read what this little portion of the article says. And there's bad news, and then there's good news. I'm going to give you the bad news first, and then we'll get to the good news. Let's read what it says. He said Callahan seemed unaware of some of the rules governing replay challenges, etc. If the Titans can win a couple of games, I'm sure that will buy him time. But that's a big if right now, and Callahan hasn't helped himself with some of the gaffes. So I'm going to link this article in the video description and in the pinned comment below. You can go read the whole thing. But this article goes on to detail, remember what I said, the Titans, this is the bad news portion, by the way. The Titans preached patience. They said, we want to give Brian Callahan every opportunity to fix this. We want to see it through to the end. They want to be patient. And they're still digging their heels in with that. That's the bad news. For all of us that are just wanting this guy out of here because we feel like the Titans will start heading in a better direction without him, even with an interim head coach, the Titans are still digging their heels in. And they're saying, we still want to be patient. We still want to try to see this thing through to the end of the season, at least, to at least say we were patient, to at least say we gave him 2 full seasons and he couldn't figure it out. They're still digging their heels in with that. And I know that's discouraging, and I know that's not what we want to hear. And it puts us in a weird position because, Amy and Borgonzi and Brinker are desperately hoping the Titans can somehow beat the Cardinals on Sunday because, like the article said, if they could just win a couple of games, that'll at least buy them time. That's what they're trying to do, is buy time. That's why they got him to give up the play calling duties last week. It was a PR move. It was putting a small Band-Aid on a huge wound. It was just saying, here's something for you. Here's something. We're not going to fire him, but here's something that'll maybe appease you. Well, it's hard to appease us when the new play caller results in a 26-0 loss at Houston. But, I mean, they still want to try to see this thing through. Not because they actually believe in Brian Callahan, but because they don't want to look bad. They don't want to have a whole offseason of preaching patience, and then they have to pull the plug barely a month into the season. Now, I talked about this yesterday. I believe Brian Callahan is so bad that he's forcing their hand. You can go watch the video I did yesterday. I'm not going to dwell on this too much because I don't want to just repeat yesterday's video. I think Brian Callahan's been so bad he's forcing their hand, and he's making it very hard for them to dig their heels in and just be patient and preach this patience thing. He's making it very hard because he's so bad. It's been one disaster after another every single week. He literally can't get through a game without having multiple terrible moments. The team looks lifeless. You know the deal. But let's get to the good news. Let's get to the good news, because I told you there was good news. Look at what Graziano went on to say. He said, I will say, from talking to people who follow these situations in the league, there's a belief that this will be a desirable job if and when it comes open. Young, promising quarterback, new stadium on the horizon, etc. Do you agree? And then Fowler goes on to say, agreed. This can be a good job. Cam Ward has serious potential but needs an infusion of pass-catching talent around him. A few drafts can fix that. The offensive line hasn't come together despite significant investments, but offensive tackle J.C. Latham and guard Peter Skoronski are players to build on. The defense has held up at times. At times, maybe. But this is the part that was refreshing to read, because I was honestly getting a little doubtful. I was like, man, is this Titans job really going to be that desirable? Because the organization just feels so dysfunctional right now and backwards and topsy-turvy. It feels like the Twilight Zone. Would this really be a desirable job for a head coach? But when you think about it, first of all, think about some of the other teams that look like they might be looking for head coaches. Carolina, I think there's a good chance they'll fire Dave Canellis. Dolphins, I feel like there's a good chance they'll fire Mike McDaniel. Maybe the Arizona guy, the head coach there, depending on how things go for them. They're 2-2 right now. Obviously, they played the Titans on Sunday. He could get fired, but you're probably going to be looking at 5 or 6 head coaching vacancies at the end of the season. I mean, when you look at who's likely to be on that list of organizations looking for a new head coach, the Titans are certainly not undesirable from the First of all, Cam Ward. I think he's going to intrigue a lot of people. Good example here, Ben Johnson becoming the head coach of the Chicago Bears. I don't think Ben Johnson would have wanted to become the head coach of the Chicago Bears 1 or 2 years prior, but I think Caleb Williams was enough to intrigue him to get him to come to Chicago. I think Cam Ward and his potential could be enough to attract, if you're wanting to look at a Joe Brady or a Todd Monken or a Cliff Kingsbury. I think Cam Ward could be a big point of intrigue for those guys that want to partner up with him and let's try and build this thing together. I think that's something the Titans will have in their back pocket. I think the new stadium coming, they want things to be exciting. So I think that could be intriguing for an incoming head coach. I think Mike Borgonzi is very well respected in the NFL as a GM. I know we hated the Jarvis Brownlee trade last week, but Mike Borgonzi is very well thought of and very well respected. And so I think you could have a lot of head coaches who are really going to love the idea of being partnered up with him and being able to work with him. Because like I said, I think Mike Borgonzi is very respected in the NFL. The Titans are going to have a lot of cap room this offseason. They got a lot of cap room to work with, and they're probably going to have a top 5 draft pick. So, that's 5 big things that would make this a desirable job. Cam Ward, new stadium coming, Mike Borgonzi, top 5 draft pick, lots of cap room. You could do a lot worse than that. Like, you could do a lot worse to try to pitch a new head coach on coming to be the head coach of your team instead of all the others. You got a pretty good foundation to stand on there. So that's refreshing to hear, at least. For Titans fans that are desperate for good news, there is some that it is believed that this could be a desirable head coaching job for head coaching candidates coming up this offseason. So that's good, but there's also the bad news that the Titans are digging their heels in on being patient with Brian Callahan right now. And so maybe it's a win-win. Either the Titans are going to get their first win of the season on Sunday, or they're going to fall to 0-5 and be one step closer to firing Brian Callahan. It's a win-win, folks. Goodness gracious. What dark times are upon us. But yeah, this article, I think there's a lot of good to take away, some aggravating stuff to take away. And again, as far as the stuff with Brian Callahan, you can watch my video about this from yesterday, and I said everything I needed to say about why I think Brian Callahan is still the head coach of the team and why it would be good to go ahead and fire him. I did a whole video about it yesterday. You can click on the channel. The article to the Dan Graziano stuff is in the video description in the pinned comment below. You can go check that out there. I appreciate you. I'll be here on Friday doing my regular episode. I ain't going nowhere. Tighten up. Bye.